A very warm welcome from the Barefoot Consultancy team. We are very excited to have our inaugural webinar because you asked and we answered. My name is Rosemary Lopokoit and I will be your moderator for this evening, or should I say this morning. I hope we are all keeping safe in these crazy times of Corona. So we have received several questions from across the country, and we have tried to collate them to give you an overview of revenue management in times of Corona. If you have any questions that we have not covered in this session, please feel free to write your questions in the chat, and we will post the answers on our social media platforms. So now please allow me to introduce our speakers for this morning. Frida Karaoke has an MBA and 7 years experience in the hospitality industry. She has worked for 3 years in operations with Sarova Hotels and 4 years in hospitality revenue management. She has also worked as a revenue manager with Barefoot for the last 3 years. Our second panelist is Catherine Gachier, and she has close to 20 years experience in the hospitality industry. In addition to an MBA, she has also done courses with Cornell in revenue management and real estate asset management. She has worked with major hotel groups like Sarova and IHG before taking the leap into consultancy. She has also served in different positions with Kenya Association of Women in Tourism in senior capacities. In addition, she is an avid golfer. So please allow me to introduce Catherine to start the meeting off.
Well, thank you very much, Rosemary, for that glowing introduction. The Barefoot is very excited to be here. And we look forward to a very good session. Frida, you can say hi.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. We are very excited and looking forward to a great session.
Excellent. So I think we're going to go straight through because we don't have a lot of time today. The Barefoot Consultancy has been in operation for 9 years, 2011, and with all the team members that we have several years to bring to the table for any project to find over 50 years. We've also had a number of clients, about 50 or so, and have taken us to 5 different countries across the continent. So let's move into why we are here today and why is revenue management a topic of discussion. Well, especially in these times, revenue management is all the more important because Corona, we need to know how to make money from the little demand that is there and how to tackle it. Before Corona and now we also have competitors that we need to consider. There are existing and there's pipeline competitors. The pipeline is not only hotels, we also have service apartments, and I think between the two of them, you're looking at about 1,000 rooms or accommodation that is going to be there in the next few years, unless now with Corona there's been some sort of delay. And then you have brands that have been established years. They have a promise and a value that their clients know about, and they have been practicing revenue management for very long. So how do we get onto that bandwagon and also understanding clients' demands and bring them into our hotels? Because revenue management is all about how do we make money for the assets that we have. Then we also have all the regulations that we follow. And then when we open, or those of us who are closed, we also have costs that we consider. If we can go down into the slide, right? So we have reopening, and we have costs. So how do we make money from the existing business, the growing business, and what is the role of the revenue manager? So the revenue manager right now is all about stimulating demand from the market in order to optimize performance of hotels while ensuring the least cost of sales. So when thinking about that, you're not just looking at how do we set the prices, how do we have our sellers, how do we get the money that we need from the market that is out there right now, and what are the new ways we need to adopt. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's move to our first question. All right.
Before we start, there was a comment about echo. Brian, is that better? Is the sound better?
Yes, that's much better, yes.
Okay, sorry about that, Brian. Is it better from my end or what?
From your end, Catherine.
Okay.
Okay. Let me ask the question, and then once my mic is off, the echo will go down. So for question 1, what room revenue management tactics can I implement during times of Corona?
Okay, well, I think the initial question here is we have to make money from the situation that we're in, and how do we actually revenue management? So what exactly is going on and how do we handle it? So first and foremost, please do not panic. And what I mean by do not panic is not just decide to go and drop your rates because everybody is dropping their rates. You really need to look at your business and analyze what segments are we talking to. The core pillar of revenue management, the very first stage is where we have to consider what segments are there that we can look at to drive business from. Right now, we're in our low season. Right? Consider this as a low season, and we're going to pick up. And are the segments we had before correct? Do we need to relook at our segments? The main segment will most likely be the local clients, Kenyans or East Africans, because now we can travel at least from Uganda, Rwanda, maybe further afield, have a bit of a challenge still coming in. Is our pricing strategy suitable? Are we talking to the market in the right way? Do we have, if we're gonna consider dropping our rates, but adding value at the same time, so that at the end of the day, you have the right rate coming to your hotel and also selling all the products that you actually have. You can look at upselling from different room types. When you're looking at the room type supplements, do you need to insist on having your $50 supplement, or you're gonna look at your $25 supplement? Do you want that head on bed? Remember, as we say in revenue management, that if you don't sell a hotel bed or a seat in a restaurant or your conference room and a time period passes, you'll never get back that time. So what will it actually take to sell the space that you have? You must remember that right now, all spaces have the potential of generating revenue. And you need to look at who is actually going to consider consuming your product. Are you looking at your hotel room as just a hotel room with a bed? Or are you looking at your hotel room as a box? And this box needs to make money. So how does this box make money? Should you look at having corporates who are tired of working from home and just want to have space with good internet and maybe room service or not? So they want to use your room for a few hours, and then you can charge a rate according to that. Should you turn away that business? No. If you can sell your room in the morning or in the afternoon, or sell in the morning, disinfect in the afternoon, whichever policies you have, and sell it the next day, you'd rather have that income coming in than no income at all. Look at your forecasting. Remember, we're in low season and we're now picking up almost from scratch, right? There are trends we can identify, and we'll talk about this a bit further on in the questions, but which packages are there going to be to capture the business? When you're looking at your various packages, how are you actually distributing your inventory as well? Are you going to distribute online? Are you going to distribute direct? Are you going to look at your tour operators? Are you going to empower your reservations team to be able to make quicker decisions on how to take the business? Remember, right now we're looking for every single shilling or every single dollar. So do we want to promote a lot of third parties, or do we want to promote direct? I would say direct would be the best tactic. What is marketing doing? Are they selling the value that your hotel has on the ground? Does your website reflect all the safety measures you put in place? Do you have a good newsletter system that you can talk directly to your clients? How is your social media? What pictures do you have out there? What policies do you have? What is your brand promise? How are you communicating all this to the market? Remember, you have to reinvent yourselves, but position yourselves to be able to create trust. You are maintaining your brand. You don't have to drop your rates, but you can reduce slightly, add value, and looking at making as much money as you can from every single space that you have. So we're going to expand a bit more about all of this in other questions, and now we'll move on to the next one.
So question number 2, what skills do I need to become a revenue manager?
So just like any other career, there are specific, very critical skills that you need when you're a revenue manager. I'll cover a few of them, which are like top 5 or top 6 critical skills. One of the skills that is very critical is that you should have very good analytical skills, because as we all know, revenue management is about numbers, and you'll be required to analyze reports each and every day, weekly, monthly. You are required to analyze various reports, both internal reports and external reports, like the daily pickups, annual budgets, as well as other reports like STR reports. Therefore, your analytical skills need to be on point. So apart from being analytical, you need to be a strategic decision maker. Like once you analyze those reports, what do you do with that data? You need to be able to use that data to make decisions based on the data, and also present the data to the management and convince them why you are doing certain things. For instance, when you forecast demand, you need to know when to change your availability or when to update your rates, and you need to support that with data. So apart from that, as you do your analytics and make decisions, you also need to have very good skills in spreadsheets, because most of these reports, if you don't have a sufficient revenue management system, a number of these reports will be required for you to come up with templates to do the reports. Especially locally, most people use Excel. So your spreadsheet skills need to be on point so that you're able to prepare a number of the reports, like forecasting, as I say, daily pickup, among many others. So other than that, as a revenue manager, you need to be very knowledgeable about various systems that either you use in your hotel or either other hotels use, such as the booking engines, the reservation systems, the channel managers. Yeah, and also in case you have a reputation management tool, you also need to know very well how to use it, because the reputation of your property matters, and you need to keep on evaluating your reputation on various review sites as well as OTAs. So, and all these coming together, you need to have very good communication skills, because once you analyze the data and you make decisions, you'll need to communicate to a number of people in your organization. So have great communication skills, but those skills should be fact-driven. Yeah. So those are the major skills that you require as a revenue manager. And then as you do all those things, as I said about systems, you need to be internet savvy and tech savvy, because all these systems, most of these systems use our technology and they use the internet. So you need to be very comfortable with using the system and be able to use them to get the best from them. Like, how do you generate various reports from, let's say, your PMS, your booking engine, your online reservation systems, and all those kind of reports. Yeah, so in a nutshell, those are the main skills of a revenue manager. Just to add to one more skill, you need to be insightful about the economic happenings, because you'll be required to evaluate the trends that are in the market, both locally and internationally. Yeah, when you're coming up with, even though it's rates, various marketing strategies, yeah, you need to be you need to have a way that you can monitor macroeconomic factors so that you can be able to generate revenue for each of your segments in your hotel. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Frida, for that. I'm hoping we are getting some people thinking about revenue management and seeing it as a possibility for themselves. So let me ask the next question. What factors should I consider when creating rates? How far in advance should I set my rates? And what is the best pricing structure or model to use now?
Okay,
Catherine?
Thank you for that question. So for the question, I'm going to assume that this whole hotel is existing. However, if one was not existing, just to give it as a point, usually there is a method called the Hubert method that is used to create rates based on the fact that the hotel costs a certain amount to build, and there's going to be operating costs, and a return on investment expected by investors, right? So that'll be a whole different discussion, which could take a day. So for this question, we're going to assume that you're operating and you want to know how and what do I need to do in order to get to create my rate structure. So in case you're wondering what a pricing structure is or what rate structure is, it's basically the compilation of all the rates that you're selling your hotel you're selling at your hotel, right? So how we're going to get the rates that we're going to use to sell right now needs to be a review of during your previous periods of operation. What typically used to be your popular rates? What was popular on which channels? How were you advertising those rates? Right now, again, we said also your segments are different. So have a look at your segments. Do they have the same buying power as previously? You're going to focus on locals. Before, probably local was local corporate, but maybe now you're looking at also having a local leisure. What can local leisure afford? When would they like to come to your hotel? You have your original pricing principles of where you want it to be. I know you can't rely a lot, like there's a question that's come from Vidya, we can no longer rely on forecasts and budgets, but in revenue management, and right now, especially right now, you need to be able to understand how your business is growing or even changing. And we're talking about, yes, we used to have the current month +3 that we look at, or current month +2, and our forecasting accuracy would have various other indicators, including that we could say what our price would be because of the type of customers. It's going to be very tricky. Yes, I totally agree, and we'll talk about this slightly later. But when it comes to your rates, the best pricing structure is the best price at which you can get the most out of the business that is coming to you. So the business that's coming to you, you have to be in touch with marketing, you have to be in touch with reservations. Should you drop your prices? I would personally say you might be able to give some slight discounts, but definitely consider value adds. Look at a best available rate strategy rather than just having a flat rate. If occupancy is going to increase slightly, should you increase your rate at probably $5 or 5%? If you want a family to come in and stay in the suite, but you know perhaps your original suite rates will not be as attractive right now for that type of client, can we look at considering a slightly reduced rate structure, or maintain the rate and then give a value add, like add a meal, right? What is the cost of a meal versus the cost of actually getting into, sorry, 1 second. Thank you for that, Frida. Frida's making me conscious about time. So the factors to consider, and let me just summarize it for rooms. Look at your marketing mix. Definitely consider your competitors. Look at your budget. Look at your star rating. Look at your brand positioning. The time of the year right now is that consider us in the low season. What previously would you have done in low season? If you have business coming at the end of the week in your city hotel, should you charge the same, right? Or should you charge slightly lower? If you have your tour operators, do you want to give them that bit of an extra discount to encourage them? But will a discounted rate actually encourage business to come in? That is a question to be reviewed. Okay, I think, fine, we'll go on to the next one. And it's question number 4. This is an interesting one. And Rosie, you can read that out.
I know we need packages with certain length of stay, weekend rates, non-refundable rates, and the like. But how do I have these rate fences and still ensure that I am getting bookings?
Okay, I mean, back again, the reason why you have packages and all these fences in place is because we've assumed that you've looked at the business that you used to have and are getting, and that you've identified the trends of the type of behavior that your clients have. Previously, people could book you 21 days in advance. So you put your non-refundable at 21 days and you rewarded the behavior of the client. Book me in advance, get a discount, but then you have to pay me in order to receive that reward. Right now, you need to look at, is 21 days suitable, or you're gonna have a 7-day or even a 5-day advance purchase. Your weekend, probably the weekend used to start to be Saturday, Sunday. You can look at it being Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Your lengths of stay, perhaps people are not going to stay 3 days, perhaps they want to stay 2 days, but if you discount a 2-day stay, you're actually going to cannibalize on the potential revenue, because if somebody was coming to stay for 2 days, they were coming to stay for 2 days. So rate fences are actually a way of securing your revenue, but also rewarding a guest. So there's no way, if you actually relook at the market segment, the marketing mix, and the new type of clients you're getting in and their booking patterns. Remember, talking about booking patterns that could be as short as today is Thursday. You look at how the business has changed over the next few weeks from Monday. What happened on Tuesday? What happened on Wednesday? And then you can always adjust. Rate fences are actually great in ensuring that you get business. And if you have packages that have discounted rates, try and also load these directly on your website and not necessarily always on third parties, because third parties are more expensive. If you have a non-refundable and you're given a 15% and you go and put the same on booking.com or other OTAs, that would be a 30%. So be very careful how you load your packages with the fences and have as much revenue come in. Moving on to the next question.
So we are about to get halfway through. This is question number 5. I need to grow direct bookings. I used to get a lot of OTA bookings before Corona, but now I would like to reduce my costs by having people book us directly.
Okay, on question number 5, the most
Frida, please unmute your mic. Frida, please start your video and
sorry
unmute your
about
mic.
that. Sorry about that. So the best way to harness your direct bookings would be through use of your website as a distribution channel, which many people nowadays have neglected because of traffic from OTAs and such like stuff. But now, especially during Corona, many of the OTAs bookings have actually gone so down, and therefore they need to harness direct bookings. So as you use your website, you need to ensure that your website is properly optimized by various search engines. And by doing that, you should ensure that you are communicating your brand correctly using your website. Like all your content, the content you're displaying is correct, as well as all your facilities, like what facilities do you have, what rates are you displaying on your website. Also, another key thing about your website, you should ensure that it's visually attractive and that it's user-friendly, because if you have a very slow website, guests will not be interested. Someone will search for a hotel, and if the website is just loading, they'll just be turned off and go to another property. So ensure that it's user-friendly, and also make sure that you have the best rates on your website, like the best offers, and have the best rate guarantee on your website, because it's the cheapest, one of the cheapest distribution channel, and therefore having the best rates will actually give you more bookings at a less cost. Other than that, ensure that the website is responsive to mobile, because from research a few months or years back, most hotels get 10% of their bookings from people booking via mobile devices. So having a website that is mobile responsive would be a great plus from your end. And then if you're also targeting people from different places globally, or people who are not just Kenyans, you could consider having multi-language on your website, or even multi-currency, so that someone can be comfortable paying with whatever currency they use in their country. So also, if already you're not integrated to a booking engine on your website, you should ensure that you integrate to a booking engine to ensure that the customer gets everything at one point. Like they're able to check availability of your hotel, they're able to make the booking, and also as you integrate the booking engine, ensure you have a payment gateway that allows the guest to process payment like instantly without having to call back and forth, which is much easier. That booking engine, ensure that it has the capability to display various discounts and offers, and also be able to sell other facilities. Just the same way we cross-sell other services in the hotel, if the website is able to give someone the ability to book other services like airport transfer, spa treatment, that would be an add-on from your end. So other than that, if you can allow your guests to book directly on your Facebook brand, page, that can also draw more traffic, because as we all know nowadays, people are going social media. Like I want to search for everything on social media, and if there's a book button, I'll book you instantly, which is also a good way of doing your bookings. Then, okay, thank you.
All right, so we are going now to the next question. How do I determine my competitive set?
Right, okay, thank you for that question. Okay,
thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Sorry, okay, so you know, there's typical ways of, sorry, in fact, what I've done is I've jumped into a question with Frida. So Frida, over to you. Sorry, go ahead.
So on determining your competitive set, first you need to understand that the number of hotels that you need to have on your competitive set should be around 4 to 5 hotels. Because if you have so many hotels, let's say more than 10 hotels on your competitive set, it will be so difficult for you to make comparisons in terms, especially in terms of pricing. It will be very challenging. And also you need to know that any hotel that a traveler would choose as an alternative to your hotel when they're traveling to your area, that's a viable hotel to be in your competitive set. So other than that, there are a few factors that you need to consider when you're determining your competitive set. One of them is the hotel category, like what's your star rating? If you're like a 4-star, you should consider, you can't go to have a competitor who is like a 1-star. You need to have to compare like for like. Like if you're 4-star, it would be great if you're comparing yourself to other 4-star hotels in your area. And also you should consider the type of accommodation. Are you an extended stay accommodation? Are you a B&B? Ensure that you're offering the same like room, you have the same room count, the same room offering with your competitor. Also very importantly, which most of the people use is proximity. Like most of the hotels that are within your geographical proximity and they're offering the same amenities as you are definitely your direct competitors. So proximity is a very great factor when considering your competitor. However, there are hotels that are not within your proximity, but you're offering the same facilities. You would consider putting those in your competitive set, but you could maybe consider having a secondary competitive set, which is also very okay. Also, when you're doing the competitive set, choosing of competitive sets, look at the facilities you're offering. For instance, if you're offering business facilities, like you have conference rooms, so you usually host groups, corporate meetings, it would be great to consider having a hotel that is also offering the same, as well as, let's say, leisure activities or recreational activities like golf, a spa. If there are hotels within your vicinity or a bit far, but they're offering the same offering, like the luxury and the business facilities, you can consider having them in your competitive set because you're in the same business. Yes.
Okay, for question number 7, I am a reservations agent and I'm always asked to make sure I tag the booking to the right segment. Is this necessary? What role do the segments play in growing bookings?
Okay, so with this question, it's very difficult to make any decision in the hotel if you don't have the right segments. You know, this reminds me of a question where I had once gone to a hotel, in fact, not even once, several times, and you look at it and you say, so which countries are the key source markets for your clients? And a number of hotels would say it's Afghanistan. So imagine if you say that you're going to now target or do geolocation advertising for Afghanistan. It's all because somebody at the front desk decided not to actually tag whether it's Kenyan or American or South African or Ugandan that is coming in. So the segments are the same scenario. Knowing the segments you have give you the ability to target the business, because every segment has an ability to buy, it has a frequency of buying, it has a type of product that they buy, and you know that you'll be able to even create your pricing strategy according to the segments, you create your marketing strategy according to the segments, and then you can even forecast, because if you don't know how many corporates are coming, and under corporate NGO, corporate UN, corporate government, corporate, you name it, international or local corporate, if you can identify what type of corporates are coming or what type of business coming, it's very difficult for you to analyze business. Okay, moving on to the next question.
So this is quite a heavy question, but thankfully we've been upgraded, so we have slightly more time with you today. My hotel does not have a revenue manager and I am the reservations manager. Every day I receive the manager's flash and then I have to report on the room revenue, ADR, occupancy, and RevPAR, all compared to budget. But I was wondering, are there any other KPIs in revenue management?
Okay, that's a nice question. You'd be surprised. As a revenue manager, there are so many KPIs that one can consider. Let's go on to the next slide. So I am from the question you mentioned, the first KPIs, just keep going down, Rosie. Yeah, so the standard KPIs, you have your occupancy and go on ADR, RevPAR, and total revenue. And if you're an F&B, of course, you look at things like covers, you have the average price per check, and I'm sure that list could go on and on, subject to which area of the hotel you're focused on. So as revenue managers, though, our ultimate indicator of performance are, let's go on to the next section. Now, we need to know that we don't operate in a bubble. So how do we actually calculate our occupancy performance, which is the initial indicator versus the market? We have to use our market penetration index to calculate how are we doing versus our competitive set. And as Frida said, you need to make sure that you can compare apples with apples. If you're a 4-star, comparing against a 3-star, then you say that your average rate is very, very high. You're actually cheating yourself. You're overperforming, but based on dealing with oranges and not dealing with apples. And then of course, it's all about the revenue. So revenue generation index is how much are you making versus your competitive set. So to know how you're performing, making sure you have the right competitive set in place is very, very key. Go on. And then at the end of the day is how much profit are we making with every room available. Remember that in revenue management, our hotel rooms, our restaurant seats, all that we have to sell, apart from maybe the F&B, the food, right? And the wine and the alcohol and the rest. All of that is very, very perishable. If we don't sell our rooms, it is gone overnight. So how much money can we make for every room available? And then at the end of the day, we are moving towards total hotel revenue management. So you're looking at total revenue per available room as well. If you're in the restaurant, your ultimate goal is revenue per available seat hour. You're open, you have 100 seats and you're open for 8 hours or 10 hours, right? How much money are you actually making for every hour that you're open, for every seat? So that is 100 times 7, you have 700 seats that in 700 hours it needed to have made money from. And then RevPASM or RevPAM is revenue per available square meter, which is ultimately used for conferencing, but I know right here, it's a bit tricky to do this. People usually say how much are we making for the conference rooms that we have. And it's very interesting to see that a lot of ballrooms make less money than the executive rooms, right? So these are sort of analysis that you need to dive into as a revenue manager. And then when you add other revenue streams, like the treatment revenue per available treatment hour is used for the spas, the same thing as your restaurant. You have space, you have spa beds, and you have treatment hours as well. If you're gonna just do massages, if you're gonna do nails, you're gonna do hair, how many hours do you have and how much money are you gonna make? And then moving on to the next one, right? This is another example of how revenue can expand. Revenue per available tea time. As you know, I'm a golfer, so how much money can you actually make from the golf course that you have? I mean, running a golf course is not cheap. You're talking about millions and billions of shillings. So you have hours every day and you have tea times. And now with Corona, you can only tee up a certain number of people at between certain times, and you have to keep time in between. So how much money can you actually make from the course is the indicator of revenue per available tea time. And that is a snapshot of sort of example of KPIs that you can, but when you dive into revenue management, the KPIs are numerable. Okay, let's move on to the next question.
I think, Catherine, our next session can actually just cover this section alone and will easily take up 40 minutes. Exactly. So hopefully we'll be letting you know when our next session is.
Okay.
So our next question. We reopened our restaurant using government Corona protocols, and now we have very few seats. These reduced covers are making it very tough for us. Could you advise how we can generate more revenue?
Yeah, it's great that you have reopened your restaurant and that you're following the protocols. So the first key thing that you'll need to do is communicate out there to your customers some of these measures that you've taken to ensure that they are safe. This will give them confidence when they are coming to your restaurant, because some people are still scared that they'll contract Corona from the restaurants. So the best way is to just communicate first to your customers through directly on your at the restaurant, and also on all your social media platforms like your website. You could have COVID updates as well as your social media. Also, if before Corona you are not already signed up to the delivery apps that we have locally, like Glovo, Jumia, Uber Eats, you should consider signing up to those delivery apps, because most people nowadays, people who are not going out to restaurants, are ordering in for food. Yeah. So other than that, social media nowadays is a big deal. So ensure that you have an aggressive social media campaign where you boost posts on your various promotions on the food that you're offering. And also, as you promote your food offerings, ensure that you're targeting the right market, like what age group would come and dine at your hotel. People from what demographics would come and dine at your restaurant. So do targeted boosting on your promotions. Yeah. And then as you do the promotions, you can consider having value adds on your meals. For instance, on your fast moving foods, you can have an add-on, like maybe buy our club sandwich, and get a free glass of wine or a free bottle of wine to encourage more people to come, because as we all know, we love freebies. We love free things on like a meal or even on accommodation. We love a lot. So as you work on your social media, also review your online presence, your website. Look at your website. What content are you displaying out there on your website? And then also you can make money out of your website by having an online menu, incorporating an online menu and advising people to order online using your website rather than the delivery apps. So as you also like work towards drawing more traffic to your restaurant, you should also look at ways on how you can minimize your costs at the restaurant. And one of the ways could be cut on the menu items. Like for instance, you can look at the menu and select the menu items that are slow moving and chop them off from the menu and have the fast moving items. That way you'll also be able to ease on the staffing levels in the kitchen, which will be a cost reduction from your end. Also look at your suppliers and see whether you can renegotiate the rates for suppliers. And if it's possible to do so, that would be great. If they are not willing, you could consider replacing them with cheaper suppliers who are giving you the same product. Or better off, you can still go to the market to source your vegetables, your fruits. Yeah, if you're in a position to go to the nearest market and source, that would also be perfect. Yeah. So also, as you do the online marketing and website marketing and everything, also ensure that you do some loyal marketing. Like your database before Corona, you can send them massive emails on every promotion that you're running, just to inform them that you're open and they can come back, because those are easy to convert because they already know your food offering. Yeah, those are, that's it.
All right, so we're going to take now the final question before I invite Catherine and Frida to give us their parting shots. So I am based in a hotel in Nairobi, and we are struggling to make a forecast during Corona. Any tips on how we can do this?
Okay, so I know the post has been there earlier that okay, I think I'll mute this. Unmute, yes. So I know earlier there was a post saying that it's impossible to forecast now that we have Corona. And I'm going to actually challenge you to say we may not be able to have our plus or minus 5% degree of accuracy, and in some cases 2%, but you have to be able to forecast, and I know you can forecast. And what I mean is literally what I was saying earlier. On Monday, what business did you have? What inquiries did you have? What did you have on the books? Is it coming directly through your website? Is it coming through your reservations in the form of email? Is it coming from OTAs? Right? Are you getting requests from tour operators or travel agents? Are you getting the telephone? So all of a sudden, you're going to start seeing that there's a lot of business you can look at, and then you have to qualify this business to make sure that it is actually sound. So you reach out to them and say, okay, are you looking at traveling at this date? Fine, we travel at this date. We can give you this rate, but you need to make a payment or you need to make a deposit by this time, so that you can start getting more solid business in place. Remember, we have inventory to sell, and what is going to be the best method of actually getting this inventory confirmed and tied down is not necessarily going to be your typical. Remember, we say, sorry, I think there's Frida, I mean, what Vidya has said, there is always a conflict between the RMs and the GMs. At the times, GMs are looking at unrealistic figures. Well, that's all the more reason, as we said right in the beginning, right? A revenue manager must be based on facts, and the only way you can do this is to have all your facts in place. What are you getting? What inquiries are you getting? What do you have in-house, right? And then you'll actually see that there is a trend that is happening, but the trend could be that your forecast for your international corporates is going to be 0 for further notice. Or you say, actually, it's only 0 for this month, but we see some inquiries coming through in September, right? We are looking at driving a local offer. We're going to have a staycation, for example, and you issue that out and say, okay, we anticipate to get 10 rooms from that. You forecast 10 rooms, but as it goes out and as you get close to the time, you can start refining. If we don't have some targets that we're working towards, then we're actually going to be doing nothing. We need to push ourselves. And the GMs also have a lot of concern, right? They have all the costs they have to deal with. They have to make sure everybody gets paid. We have to look at reopening all our rooms. You know, we have a lot of fixed costs that we're dealing with. Whether we like it or not, we need to pay for the electricity. We need to pay for water. We need to pay for security, right? Whether you're there or not, the guard needs to be there. So as revenue managers, we need to consolidate all the information that we have and now make extreme efforts to convert all the business. And remember, we were in a time where there was no travel. Now we have domestic travel, we have regional travel, and we do have international travel. So it is going to take time to pick up, but there will be a pickup. We just have to be sure we understand which channels are giving the pickup and how we can convert that business to come in. Okay.
Okay, Catherine. So because we have a little bit more time on our hands, maybe we can answer one last question which was posted in the chat. And which are the common mistakes of hotel revenue management?
Okay, go ahead.
One of the mistakes that I think most what are common mistakes of hotel revenue management? One major mistake that most hotel managers make is killing their rates simply because their competitors are priced lower, like without considering their costs, their brand, and such like things. I think that is one of the biggest mistakes that I've experienced with a number of revenue managers in the market, because they feel that if they lower the rate than their competitors, they are going to draw more traffic. But you need to be clear about the people you're targeting, your target market, as well as the market you're targeting as well. Yeah, before you lower the rate. And also be very careful about your brand, about messing your brand, because once you mess it, it takes a lot of time for you to come back to where you are. Yeah.
I think also to add on to that, there's a tendency sometimes for revenue managers to be, well, I would say, for lack of a better word, rate arrogant, right? So at the end of the day, what we're looking at is that there is demand out there, but maybe our previous price points cannot achieve it because our price point was, we're dealing with the international market that have book us through GDS perhaps, or we're looking at other corporate bookings that could come in. Now we're looking at more domestic demand, and are we going to turn it away just because they have probably what, 10,000 and your previous rate was 15,000, right? But what can we do to get added value from that 10,000, and how many 10,000s do we actually want? And remember that if you accept that 10,000, what is the cost of turning over that room and cleaning that room? In the city, if you're 5-star, maybe the cost is probably 2,000 shillings, right? And then you have other fixed costs that need to happen. So you can have business that comes in, but it ends up being almost free to the guests because when they come in, they're barely meeting your costs, right? So instead of being rate arrogant, look at the total revenue you're able to get from a particular type of business. Remember I mentioned earlier, if you have a hotel room and a corporate or somebody is saying, I'm tired of being in the house, I want to be able to have, do my work day in a room that is safe, come in and you say, okay, my day room rates for X number of hours is going to be 5,000. If you have 10 5,000s, right, or whichever number, and you have that every day, this is revenue that you not have had. And remember, you can clean the room and you're not going to be dealing with the showers. You're not going to be dealing maybe one soap for the sink and stuff like that. So look at business in totality. And I think also another very big issue that that they have is that revenue managers sometimes try and work in a bubble. The more you try and work isolated, the more difficult your job will be. You need to interact with the sales team, the reservations team, the marketing team. The GM needs to understand where you're coming to. I know before we say revenue manager should have the right to say no. But as you come in, your demand should be able to dictate your pricing, right? Whether the best available rate, at what level it's going to be. And you as a revenue manager should say, okay, at this level, these will be the best rates. I can see, Brian, you said Another common mistake is static pricing. If in this day and age, you're still on static pricing, you are not implementing revenue management. So you should give us a call so that we can explain to you the benefits and even help you create this culture of a revenue management culture to say, I mean, how best can you capitalize on the demand you have? Because if you have a static price, when you're city high, hotel high, you can charge your rack rate or your highest rate. But then if you charge that same rate when you only have, what, 30%, you could be missing out on all the other people who could possibly stay with you. So with a static pricing scenario, you need to really deep dive because the revenue management culture in your property is not correct. Is there another question?
No, that's it. So allow me to invite Frida to give her parting shot for the day. Frida, we can.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining our webinar. We really appreciate. In case you still have other questions, feel free to ask us and engage us on all our social media platforms, and we are going to respond to them accordingly. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. And I think also, before we leave, there's one more question from Brian. Does guest feedback affect revenue management? Absolutely. Guest feedback is so important that if you were to go on TripAdvisor and you see that your hotel is charging $100, right, and then your competitor is charging $80, and your TripAdvisor comment says, oh, the room was dirty, housekeeping was slow, F&B was this, F&B was that, it's impossible to have an effective pricing strategy and a demand generator and converting if your feedback is not in line with what you need it to be. It could be, I mean, operations really needs to do their part. If revenue sources the business and brings them in, and then they get to their room and they're checked into a vacant, dirty room instead of a vacant, ready room, surely that will affect you greatly. So all guest feedback is, I would say, revenue management is the pillar or the foundation of a hotel, and then every single department needs to do their work. The guest feedback is like the cement that keeps everything together. If it starts falling off, if people stop doing their job and guests start complaining, at the end of the day, revenue management is going to have a very, very hard time. So with that, I'd like to say asante sana, and feel free to send us your questions and we can post them more. And we're going to have another session in September and we'll focus on a particular topic then. If you look out on our social media, you'll see when we're going to have our next webinar. And any comments about this webinar are are welcome. And we look forward to seeing you again next time.
Okay, thank you so much, Catherine. So allow me to give the vote of thanks. I'd like to thank all of the participants for taking time out of their busy schedules to join us today. To Catherine and Frida, thank you so much for preparing such a fantastic presentation. So from all of us at the BCL group, I'd like to say stay safe, stay healthy, and goodbye.